At the end of this video, I will be eating this. That's right, Chef Boyardee classic beef ravioli in tomato and meat sauce. I don't think I've had this in over 45 years. I feel like I do remember a little bit of what it tastes like, but this is gonna be like very interesting. And I'm not doing it because it's some sort of stunt or some joke or anything like that. I'm doing it because I want to, and I have a point. Because this isn't about just childhood food or nostalgia. This is about how one chef, a real chef, not just a mascot or corporate figurehead, quietly changed how a chef can cook for the masses. And this was long before there was the chef as the main attraction or personality. Now, before we tuck in, let's look at how this can came to be.
His name was Ettore Boiardi, aka Hector Boiardi. He was born in the northern Italian city of Piacenza in 1897. He apprenticed in kitchens starting at the age of 11, and it was the old school way of doing things. Peeling potatoes, hauling out trash, head down, and shut the hell up. Then he did what a lot of ambitious young Europeans did at the time. He followed the work. He landed in Paris and London, doing actual proper apprenticeships, learning and honing his chops as he worked with seasoned, no pun intended, chefs. His sights eventually turned to Ellis Island, and he landed on American shores at the age of 17. His older brother, Paul, had been in the States for a few years already and was working as the maitre d' at the Plaza Hotel, where he got his younger sibling a job. Hector's culinary prowess started to get noticed, and he was soon promoted to head chef. At the age of 18, he catered the wedding of President Woodrow Wilson and Edith Bowling Galt. They were so blown away by his cooking that they asked him to oversee the feeding of over 2,000 World War I veterans returning home. He was clearly leaving a mark in his new home of America. Hector continued working in serious kitchens, hotels, fine dining, etc. And remember, at this time, chefs weren't personalities. They were nameless and faceless workers in whites. But they weren't mindless bots. They were craftsmen, proud of their training, growth, and of putting food on the table for their customers and for their own families at home. That food spoke for them, and that was all that mattered. Which made what happened next interesting. In 1924, Boiardi opened an Italian restaurant in Ohio, Il Giardino d'Italia, the Garden of Italy. With Boiardi serving food from his home of Piacenza to people who were still new to the Italian cuisine, his restaurant was perhaps one of the most unique and popular in the city. People were enamored with this cook-to-order spaghetti with homemade sauce and cheese. And not only that, diners were begging to take home his signature sauce to use at their own family dinners. And he obliged. Using milk bottles, he packaged up the sauce and sent them off with grateful patrons. However, demand for his sauce became too great, and soon the chef realized that while his restaurant was a hit, true success might be found in his take-home industry. And that's when he made a leap most chefs had never considered back then. He started producing food at scale. Not frozen meals, not shortcuts, but shelf-stable Italian food that families could afford and rely on. But before he could move on, he had to tackle one simple but glaring branding decision. His name. It was hard to pronounce. Ettore Boiardi. So he phoneticized it. Boiardi became Boiardee. And he did this not to entirely erase his proud Italian heritage, but to translate it in a way that was as easy to digest and take in as his tasty food was. Remember, this was the 1920s, and Italian names were still new to American tongues. And that choice proved to cement his name in the pantries and cupboards of countless families. As the company grew, it moved operations to Milton, Pennsylvania, closer to farmland, closer to supply. Tomatoes by the ton, mushrooms grown on site, imports coming from overseas. In fact, by 1936, they were the largest importers of Parmesan cheese from Italy. Smashing 20,000 tons of tomatoes a season, the Milton factory produced upwards of 250,000 cans of sauce a day. This wasn't just a food brand, it was a system. And what he was really selling wasn't sauce, it was the idea of a complete meal, of families spending time together without fuss or muss, a spaghetti dinner that felt Italian, but fit into American life. And for families with limited time, money, and access, this was an affordable and doable way of breaking bread together. Then World War II hit, and everything changed. The US military needed food, stat. It had to be shelf-stable, reliable, and scalable. And by then, Boiardi already had the infrastructure, so he went at it. His factory ran around the clock 24 hours a day. Chef Boyardee became one of the largest suppliers of rations for Allied troops. In fact, he was awarded a Gold Star of Excellence by the United States War Department. Just think, the food we now associate with kids and dorm rooms was designed to fuel soldiers. By the time the war ended, the company employed 5,000 people, and production far exceeded what they were doing in the 1930s. The factory was too big to shrink back down. The workforce was too large, and the machines were still in place. And so after struggling with cash flow, internal family struggles over the ownership and direction of the company, and managing such a quantum leap in growth, the Boiardi sold the company. Hector Boyardee remained on as a consultant and the face of canned pasta until 1978. He died at the age of 87 in 1985. We tend to think celebrity chefs started in the 1990s. Emerald, catchphrases, bam! Bam, 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 bam! Kitchens as stages. Everyone wanted to be the next Bobby Flay or Iron Chef. Before the 90s explosion, chefs like Julia Child and Jacques Pepin on CBS laid the groundwork. However, their goal wasn't fame, it was education. They were teachers in aprons. The camera stayed on the food, and the tone was academic. You knew their names, but you didn't see them as stars. You saw them as masters of their craft. But when the Food Network exploded, gone were the scholarly cooks in aprons. Suddenly, chefs weren't just cooks. They were personalities wielding sauté pans. The kitchen became a lifestyle brand. Chefs were now getting the pop star treatment, screaming fans, book tours, and global empires. We stopped looking at the plate and started looking at the person holding it. This created the cult of personality because it rewarded ego, style, and charisma over just flavor. But decades earlier, Boiardi had already done something revolutionary. He had put the chef's face into the American home, and not through TV shows, podcasts, or social media, but through packaging, through trust, and through repetition. Because before this, chefs were invisible. Rare was the chef's name known outside other than chef circles or elites. Boiardi didn't turn chefs into rock stars, but he turned them into familiar presences. When it came to promotion, Hector was the friendly face of the company, the only face that mattered. He showed up in print ads in the 40s, TV commercials in the 50s, all the way up until 1979.
Hello, may I come in? I am Chef Boyardee. Perhaps you have seen my picture on Chef Boyardee products at your grocer's. It all comes in one carton. A full half pound of tender, quick-cooking spaghetti, 10 full ounces of rich, tasty sauce, and to top it off, a whole can of zippy grated cheese.
His natural charm and easygoing nature helped solidify him as this avuncular figure, happy to share his food with as many people as he could. Through the countless revamps and repositioning and commercials, what kept it all together was Chef Boyardee, that recognizable face that was timeless, yet not dated. And that's why he's continued to stay long after the fireworks and the bams of celebrity chefs. He continued to follow through with the promise that he made in the 1920s. Now that's integrity. And also pretty damn cool. One last thing before I headed back into the kitchen and try that beef ravioli. is, you know, as a former chef, I know what it's like to want to feed people. That's one of the reasons we get into this, is because we want to nourish others. We want to share our expertise and our craft to other people. And nothing makes us happier than someone cleaning up their plate, finishing everything, you know, just happy. And it transcends ego. It's just this soul satisfying nourishment that we have. And it can be expressed in so many different ways. You know, Chef Boyardee, he was the same, you know, and he expressed it through just this process of canning and expanding his food to so many other people. You know, we can write cookbooks, we can do videos, we can do tutorials, we can teach classes. There's so many different ways. We open restaurants, of course. There's so many ways that we can share and express that need to nourish and to have people try food. And this is just one way. And that's why I will never look down upon like canned food or you know, frozen foods or anything like that. Anything that can bring ease and comfort and joy and nutrition and nourishment to people, I think it's a beautiful expression for any chef, any craftsperson who's out there to help others. So with that, got a little philosophical there. It all comes down to integrity and wanting to feed others.
Which brings me back here. Chef Boyardee Beef Ravioli. First time in 45 years. All right, let's get cooking or heating up. It's got this handy dandy pull tab. All right, let's see what we got here. All right, let's give it a whirl. Oh my, we got some strays here. All right. This one doesn't want to go. Sorry, off you go. Huzzah! As a retired chef, I'm not judging this in any way, shape, or form like it's some fine dining, like some global competition. That would be beside the point. I mean, it's Chef Boyardee. Chef Boyardee. And, you know, really what I'm looking for is just remember, like, does this remind me of my childhood? Has it changed? I don't know. I don't know what to expect, but we're almost there. All right, it's heated up. I mean, you can see it's pasta. It's ready. Hey, what are you gonna do? Okay, I'm gonna plate up and then I'm gonna try it. I'm wondering, like, in the spirit of like childhood dorm food and stuff, I should just eat it right out of the pan. Why not? Maybe it's sloppy. I don't know. Anyway, I'll think about it. All right, so I decided to do a plate up because, you know, a chef. And I'm also standing up because I don't remember ever when I worked in the kitchen sitting down to eat. It was rare. So I'm going to honor the chef and the whole industry by standing up. Okay. So it looks fine. It looks fine. You know, again, this is not fine dining. The shapes seem to hold up pretty well. Like, oh, I got a double there. The sauce looks lovely. It's very straightforward, it seems like. You know, very soft pasta, which I'm surprised holds up in the process. The meat flavor is there. It's not overwhelming. It's maybe, if anything, slightly underwhelming. But you know what? This is reliable. It's familiar. It's comforting. It is what it is, so to speak. Like, remember, this food is built for consistency, not to surprise you, right? Like, you want that consistency. You want to be able to pick up a can anywhere, in any store, in any part of the country or wherever, and it tastes the same. Like, that's the point. And I have a little sense of nostalgia because I was probably like 5 or 6 or 7 or 8, like around that time having this. And it was probably like a cold day like it is today. And my face was still feeling frozen. And I came in and my mom warmed this up. And here I am just like scarfing it down. Blah, blah, blah. And it's filling. It's satisfying. And it just fuels you. It's wonderful. Love it or hate it, canned food has a time and place. You know, for it to be in families, you know, cupboards and pantries, wherever, so that they can fill the gap when they don't have the time, resources, money, etc., to put a hot meal on the table. And that's been the story. That's been the idea ever since this OG, the guy, started to create this way of expanding his traditional food, his hometown food, to a new market that still didn't understand Italian cuisine or the Italian culture. And I think it's marvelous that he was able to do this in a way that was in integrity. And I know there's, we look at chemicals and we look at this and that. My understanding is that he really did his best to make sure that there were no shortcuts and that the food had integrity, because chefs, we pride ourselves in getting the best that we can and feeding and nourishing others. And that's really what this is about. It goes beyond just like this can. It's the story behind the can. And that is what really fascinated me about this guy. And hey, if you found this useful, entertaining, or insightful in any way, give a follow. Like, subscribe, comment, get notifications. That would really help me grow this little teeny weeny channel that I'm hoping to grow. So thank you for being here on The Creative Alchemist, and I'll see you next time.